The coronavirus pandemic, otherwise known as COVID-19, took the world by storm. Most countries of the world were struck by the tsunami type of disease, including Nigeria. The Anambra State government, under the leadership of Governor Willie Obiano, in accordance with his proactive approach to issues, became the first government in Nigeria to issue an advisory to its people on travels to China in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. The reason is not far-fetched, as Anambra people, due to their enterprising nature, travel extensively to China, the world's manufacturing capital, to import consumer goods as well as machinery and parts for their factories all over Nigeria and beyond. Anambra people also travel for business, academic, religious and leisure purposes to other countries of the world widely affected by COVID-19. Anambra also records high level of commercial activities as it has some of the biggest open markets, which are always overcrowded with millions of people from West and Central Africa. These were some of the reasons it was feared Anambra was going to be an epicenter of the contagion in the southeast. However, proper handling of the pandemic by the Governor Willie Obiano administration has doused such fears. By January 27, 2020, Governor Willie Obiano directed the Ministry of Information and Public Enlightenment to initiate a campaign on the coronavirus challenge, starting with the advisory against traveling to China.
As early as January 27th, the governor called me and directed the Ministry of Information to issue an advisory to our people who were going mostly to China for business to stop going to China. And indeed, by this time, the viral outbreak had been reported in 13 European countries, and these are places that people frequent to in large numbers. We have also gone to all the major hotels and engaged major stakeholders. On these issues, we took proactive measures early enough.
The advisory also counseled the people to watch out for persons who were coughing or sneezing or running temperature in about 13 European countries and to keep away from them. This was long before the UK, US, and any other African country did so. This directive was well published and is still available on the internet. The Anambra State government had earlier directed the Ministry of Health to set in motion the machinery to deal with both the coronavirus and Lassa fever. It also directed every member of the State Executive Council to go to each of the 63 major markets in the state, as well as to motor parks and hotels, and engage stakeholders on the viral outbreaks and how to prevent them. These places were chosen because they have high population. A month after COVID-19 broke out in Nigeria, and long before Anambra recorded its index case, in conjunction with the World Health Organization (WHO) and the European Union, the State University Teaching Hospital trained 50 persons on how to manage coronavirus patients. The master trainers have in turn been training others. One significant thing about the training of personnel to manage COVID-19 patients in Anambra State is that lab scientists, ward cleaners, and ambulance drivers were trained in addition to doctors and nurses. Anambra State also built and equipped protective centers, otherwise known as isolation centers, in readiness for the outbreak of the disease in the state.
When we had the first case in Lagos, the first Nigerian case that came into Nigeria, we realized that, okay, it's now knocking very close to home. And we went to the next stage of response, which is preparedness. So how do we get ready for this? Because if it's in Lagos, it's already here. So we started getting things, putting things together. Training people, building capacity, getting isolation and protective care centers ready, building people's psyche for them to be ready in case this lands here. What do we do? Then from the preparedness, we went to response. With response came with our index case, April 10th. And the next stage after that is recovery.
The Anambra State government also imposed a 2-week partial lockdown to ensure the state stayed free from the virus, while setting up a coronavirus attack team headed by no one else but Governor Willie Obiano himself, because of the government's belief in the old aphorism that prevention is better than cure. In the course of the pandemic, however, the state government established a COVID-19 task force in each of the 21 local government areas and became the first government in Nigeria to establish a COVID-19 task force at ward level, which it did for the 326 wards in the state. The earlier 2 weeks lockdown was later extended by another 2 weeks, this time comprehensive. Within the period, markets were shut down, churches and schools closed down, civil servants were directed to work from home. All movements across the state by individuals and groups were prohibited. Only people on essential services were permitted to move around in the delivery of these services to the people. Everyone was advised to stay indoors to avoid getting contaminated by the virus. The security agencies were mandated by the state government to enforce restriction on movement. All boundaries with neighboring states were closed with a ban on human and vehicular traffic, while the citizens were enjoined to comply with the standard protocols on COVID-19, which includes wearing of face masks, regular hand washing, use of hand sanitizers, and social distancing, amongst others.
In the state, we have more than 42 borders with our neighboring states, and that is not surprising. Remembering that the Southeast used to be one whole, if you like, state, the old central state. So there are still various connecting points between the various states in the Southeast. So it became obvious that we needed to man all these borders, about 42 of them, and the governor directed the security service, especially chief security officer, to ensure that those borders were sealed. And that helped a lot in ensuring that the spread of the virus was very well contained.
Despite all these measures taken by the Anambra State government to shield the people from the ravaging coronavirus pandemic, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, at about 8 p.m. on Good Friday, April 10, 2020, announced that the state had been infected. However, within 4 to 5 days after the index case tested positive, new specimens from him read negative for COVID-19. A second test conducted 4 days later by NCDC confirmed that the index case had been really treated successfully and was free of the contagion. Consequently, Governor Willie Obiano on Wednesday, April 22, directed the Commissioner for Health to release the 58-year-old man from the protective center at the General Hospital Onitsha, Nigeria's first facility to meet WHO standards in the management of COVID-19 cases. The treatment of Anambra in this case has turned out to be the shortest anywhere in the world. The NCDC Director General, Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu, who visited the state with WHO officials 24 hours later, described the physicians in the state government as truly amazing.
We know we are going to get over this, but we know we can't get over it without the support of everyone concerned. So really, there's no greater time to ask for everyone to join the work being led on in Anambra by His Excellency the Governor, the amazing public health team that I spent the last 2 hours with. We had an opportunity to go through the activities that we're carrying out around the state, the engagement in managing the one case we've had so far in Anambra, but critically to ensure that we prevent other cases as much as we can within our gift.
The Governor Willie Obiano-led administration introduced some measures to cushion the effect of the pandemic on the people. One of such measures was in the area of education. With schools shut down, pupils and students were forced to stay at home. Nevertheless, just about 1 week of the lockdown in Anambra State, the Obiano administration introduced the Anambra Teaching on Air, a collaborative and innovative blended learning program pioneered by the Anambra State Ministry of Basic Education and Anambra Broadcasting Service, ABS.
It suddenly dawned on us that it's possible that we might be at home much more than we would ever begin to imagine. So we thought out of how we can keep our children busy. First of all, we started with the senior secondary because as you well know, they are the exam class. We started with them and started fine-tuning what we were doing. We added the junior secondary and the primary schools. And It's been a very rewarding experience. First, for our teachers, who are called them global teachers now, and for the children, it was also an opportunity for them to enhance their communication skills too, because we usually have feedback program where the children will call in to ask questions. It was an opportunity for them to also learn how to listen.
The novel teaching program is targeted at pupils and students in primary, junior and senior secondary schools. Lessons are delivered on air at advertised times, 3 hours daily every weekday. 1 hour each is allocated to the 3 compulsory school categories: Anambra State Universal Basic Education Board (ASUBEB), the Post-Primary School Services Commission (PPSSC), and the Ministry of Basic Education team up to select and nominate teachers who are selected from the various education zones in the state. The teaching on-air program is delivered across multiple platforms, which includes ABS radio and television stations in Awka and Onitsha, and on ABS social media platforms. Anambra State government ensured that private and public primary and secondary schools in the state, which eventually reopened for the third term of 2019-2020 academic session in September 2020, observed all COVID-19 safety protocols after being closed since March due to coronavirus scare. Another novel approach by the Anambra State government to address challenges posed by COVID-19 in this sector was the e-conference it organized to sensitize stakeholders in the education sector on the need to adjust to the new methods of education. The e-conference was termed Facing the New Normal, Post-COVID-19 Education in Anambra.
Let me quickly say that the highlight of our COVID-19 intervention in education was actually the e-conference we held. It was unbelievable. You know, we started thinking about that with our consultant, IDK Learning Center. Nobody imagined it was going to be a very huge conference. I think people were wondering, this crazy woman, you know, how is she going to do that? But we did it. Post-COVID, you know, what you call, laying the foundation for the new normal. Post-COVID-19 education in Anambra State. We brought educators from all over the world to have some robust ideas and discussions on what it is to be new normal. We talk about blended teaching, remote learning. We talk about technology-driven education. We talk about flipped classroom. So you expect a different kind of teachers and a different kind of students.
This move by the state government attracted commendation from the federal government, as the Minister of State for Education, Mr. Emeka Nwajuba, stated that the federal government will partner Anambra government in its e-learning initiative towards enhancing effective teaching and learning in post-COVID-19 era. The Governor Willie Obianọ-led administration, as a way of showing solidarity with vulnerable groups, including youths in the state, doled out palliatives to the 181 communities in the state. The list of beneficiaries were submitted to the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs through their traditional rulers, Presidents General of Town Unions, as well as the women leaders of the Association of Anambra State Town Unions, ASATU, to ensure equity and fairness.
The governor started off with sharing 200 bags of rice to every community in Anambra State. At the first instance, it was targeted towards the elderly, those who were 70 years and above. We did it in such a seamless manner that other states in the country started asking how was it done in Anambra State. You know, that seems to be the mantra under this administration. Then after that, the governor also shared 400 bags of rice to each community, this time around for the youth. You would have thought that when anything that involves the youth would generate crisis, but that wasn't so in Anambra State. Again, we had our formula for dealing with it.
And it is quite appreciated. His Excellency also asked the honorable members, please, you guys should help me. You are my representatives in your various constituencies. You know, we had a meeting, the honorable members. I said, yes, you know, it is some of the crunch. We have to do something, like follow the footsteps of His Excellency. And I'm quite sure, and I will tell you that there is no honorable member in the House of Assembly that distributed anything less than 1,000 bags of rice in their constituencies. Some even added Indomie noodles, yam, bags of beans and other stuff, So I appreciate in the Anambra, I appreciate His Excellency, and I believe together, the way we're doing all this with one spirit, we're going to fight this COVID-19.
In furtherance of his promise to cushion the effects of the coronavirus pandemic on his people, Governor Willie Obiano approved a 10% tax relief, a stimulus package for all traders and business owners in the state.
His Excellency identified 4 key things that must be done to help the people in the state. The first one was to approve that people should not sit more than 2 vehicle on one bench of seat so that they will maintain social distance. But in doing that, he recognized that that will likely have impact on the economy of those people in that sector, the transporters. So in order to cushion the impact of that and the pandemic on transporters, His Excellency announced that there will be cancellation of daily tickets that people pay for permits to operate transport in the state. So His Excellency also approved that we defer the period that is expected, that people are expected to file their tax return. Initially, we deferred it from 31st March to 31st May, and later it was further extended to 31st August. In addition to that, we also offered total waiver for interest and penalties on existing debts owed by the taxpayers through bank duty audits to the state government.
Still as part of strategy to fight the contagion, the Anambra State government, through a statement it released by the Ministry of Information and Public Enlightenment, urged the people of the state to eat right. It admonished that eating of lots of fruits and vegetables such as lemon, oranges, tangerine, and the greens can boost their immune system, adding that eating organic foods such as traditional foods as opposed to junk foods can equally help to boost the immune system. The statement also highlighted the importance of exercise and as well encouraged the people to take supplements like vitamin C, D, and other pharmaceutical products which contain zinc. Not done with food and nutrition, the Governor Willie Obiano administration introduced what it termed backyard farming, otherwise known as Ugbo Azono, to boost food production. According to the government, the move became necessary in order to ensure food security, particularly during post-COVID-19 pandemic. The governor also set up a central working committee to mobilize and sensitize the people on the need for backyard farming, headed by the Chief of Staff to the governor, Chief Primus Odele.
The governor, in his wisdom, knew that the only thing that will sustain individuals and can keep people away from criminal acts is farming. So he decided that he should constitute a committee that will now begin to emphasize on backyard farming, which we call Ugbo Azono. By this, the governor wants every household to minimize what they can buy, what they will have the need to go to the market for. Every household also spends at least a minimum of 100 naira or 50 naira to buy pepper every day. He also engaged the Commissioner for Agriculture and mandated him to provide seedlings for whoever that is interested in farming. That way, people can go into cooperatives or small cliques of people can come together and take up a place and farm.
The Anambra State government being exemplary in formulating policies to fight the coronavirus pandemic, combined the best elements from the two major schools of thought which emerged in the global campaign against COVID-19. It integrated the best elements from what may be termed the public health school, which is in favor of a total lockdown comparable to a 24-hour curfew everywhere until the disease is defeated completely, and the second, which may be called the economic cum business school, that believes a total lockdown will result in economic depression. While the Obiano government protected the people from the ravages of coronavirus, it could not allow its millions of people to unwittingly die of hunger and starvation or cause their businesses to collapse through unmitigated lockdown, and so it began a gradual easing of restrictions. Though restrictions were being eased gradually, the Obiano administration did not hesitate to wield the big stick on offenders of COVID-19 protocols in the state. An example was the closure of the popular Ikoka market.
Within the first 1 month, the compliance was quite encouraging, total compliance. But after 1 month, some markets started railing. Typically, most of it was Ikoka markets. So that was why we have to close down Ikoka the second time. And that closure served as a deterrent to other markets, and they started complying again. So that's how we've gone. And Excellency also fumigated during that lockdown. We fumigated all the markets because whatever material we are using to do the fumigation wasn't that friendly to human health. So we were able to use that opportunity of the lockdown where people were not in the market to fumigate all the markets in Anambra State. So when we started now, we believe some level of sanity was there in the market.
With the increasing number of cases of COVID-19 in the country and the need for early detection and treatment of cases, Anambra State established 3 test centers. The first center is the Acunalysis Diagnostic Center, a public-private partnership (PPP) located in Nnewi. The second is located at the state-owned Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University Teaching Hospital, Awka, and is the only mega laboratory in the southeast. It can test up to 2,350 samples in each cycle of 12 hours, as each of the 5 installed units can test up to 470 samples within this period. It is the Abbott Laboratory brand from the United States of America. However, it can operate only when there are at least 24 samples. This defect has been taken care of by the third facility at the Onitsha General Hospital, which can operate even when there is only 1 sample and the result out within 1 hour or 2. With the setting up of this facility, Anambra became the first state in Nigeria to have a general hospital which tests for COVID-19. While the average cost of treatment for coronavirus is about 400,000 naira, according to Kaduna State Governor Nasiru El-Rufai, it is worthy of note that testing and treatment for COVID-19 are free in Anambra State. What more, the ambience in the protective centers makes patients feel they are home away from home.
The information we receive from different quarters indicate that our people have started lowering their guard on COVID-19 protocols. As you are probably aware, I signed the COVID-19 bill into law. Under this new COVID-19 law, among other things that is contained there, it's an offense to be seen in public without a face mask. The offense attracts a fine of 10,000 naira or some hours of community service. I have no doubt that if we continue to maintain the same level of discipline, we will be giving ourselves enough headroom to overcome this pandemic. We shall continue to push back on this pandemic and reduce its presence in Anambra State. We shall overcome this virus by the grace of God.
With one of the lowest infection figures and hospitalization in the country, Anambra has retained an impressive record in its fight against COVID-19. And so, whether in societal sensitization, mass mobilization or management of the coronavirus pandemic, the campaign against this ill wind, which threw up a great challenge to the whole world, has been handled in Anambra State the Anambra way, the way of excellence.
With all our hearts, we pray and ask, God bless Anambra, God bless the shining light that we bear. We're the only ones to make her brighter, the only ones to make her better, the only ones to make Anambra shine. With our sweat and blood, every breath of our lives, we've trust in God, we will lift our homeland high. We believe in together.